So it's finished Villa 1, Wolves 1. Originally, I think, like a lot of people, I was pretty unconvinced by the lineup, but I put a lot of trust in Lopetegui, who sees them week in, week out, train every day, pretty much. So I'm happy to stick my faith in him because he's a hell of a manager. So the first 45 minutes that we played, I think, was outstanding. Very expansive, attacking, fluid football. What we were kind of promised originally, I think, by Bruno Lage with his 4-4-2 has now transitioned into Lopetegui's 4-2-3-1, which was brilliant in the first half. I mean, Daniel's goal was a fantastic footwork, a great finish, well worked on the edge of the box to create space. And it looked like we would, if that was to continue, we would go on and win the game at least 3-0. However, that's not how football works. And Unai Emery is a good manager, so got them in at half-time, obviously made some tactical changes. I don't think the Adama sub at half-time was great. I don't know if Daniel was injured, but he was really causing them a lot of problems, so I wouldn't have taken him off if I'm assuming that he's injured, obviously. But yeah, the second half was really not great. They came back into the game quite quickly. I enjoyed the Aït-Nouri wing experiment. I think he'd earned a shot at playing there, and he was good. I think it's like a little bit of a defensive winger. If you've ever played Football Manager before, you can stick a defensive winger in there and they'll track back occasionally. But also we know that Ryan's got a lot of talent going forward as well, and he almost scored that incredible solo goal. Nunes, I think, is starting to come into his own now. The weird 10 role that he was playing under Lage was not the player that he is. In this 8 role that he plays under Julian, so good. Is getting better every game, I think. And that midfield 3, when we get Boubacar back, which is a shame he wasn't involved today, but when we get Boubacar back, that midfield 3 will be really solid, I feel. It's an unlucky slip for the equaliser from Sarr. But we've been done over by a long ball over the top twice, actually, because the second time Leon Bailey rounds the keeper and should score into an open net and we should lose the game. But it's a shame that we defend so brilliantly all game, and then we're picked apart by 2 over the top long balls. It's very FIFA-esque. We shouldn't be getting beaten by those at this level. So it's a point to build on. I think we just have to take those first 45 minutes and just try and eventually convert it into 90. It's a slow process, but I trust it, and I think we'll be fine this year. So it's a point that I'm happy with, I'll take, and we just need to capitalise, build, and keep moving forward.
Bit of a frustrating one to take today. We very easily could have lost that right at the end. I think in the whole reflection of the game, it is a really good point. We could have had more from the game if we'd have took more chances in the first half. But then again, Villa had 2 really good opportunities in the second half as well. So I think in the grand total, it's a fair point. Final score, Villa 1, Wolves 1. We saw the team selection from Lopetegui. There was a lot of surprise in there as well. We all saw the attack and thought we're not really going to create that much. It was good to see that, Collins and, Kilman obviously retained, even though, to be fair, there wasn't really any other options, to be honest. The other one was the surprise of Aït-Nouri probably not coming in either. But, I felt like we started off the game really strong. We were straight into Villa's faces. We didn't show them any respect. We were, closing them down at every opportunity. Diego Costa was the man who started the press, and I thought he was absolutely terrific tonight. His best game in a Wolves shirt comfortably. He led the line really well. The only criticism of him, he wasn't getting into the goal-scoring areas, but considering the other strikers we've got at the football club, he is probably the best one out of a not necessarily great bunch at the moment. Really good play in the build, just before the goal as well. We had other opportunities. We was passing it really well into space. We controlled possession really well. I thought defensively, playing it out from the back. We looked a hell of a lot more calm than what we did against Man United. So there was, a bonus there, really. But, overall, the first half was really good. Really good finish from Podence. It's something that we've been screaming out for him to do for God knows how long. And if he adds that type of consistency, then I feel like we've got a good player on our hands. The thing is with him, he's so hot and cold and you don't really know what type of player you've got with him. Nunes is really starting to come into his own. He's looking like the player that we spent all of that money on. He's looking like the club record signing that a lot of people came in with high expectations of. Absolutely bossed the midfield in the first half. The second half, I thought, as soon as Podence went off, we kind of lost that attacking ability, the attacking intensity. I didn't think Adama necessarily had a great performance when he came on. But for me, the turning point in the game was when we brought on Joe Hodge instead of Moutinho. Personally, I don't rate Jean Moutinho, but with him in the game and the system that we've got in playing, it's all about trying to dictate the ball every time we get it in the midfield. And he's the person who's the first to press. And he's always the first to normally get the ball back and move us forwards. So taking him off for Joe Hodge, I thought was a very, very brave substitution. And not for the first time with Joe Hodge coming on. Through no fault of his own, he's just not ready for Premier League football. He changed the game and it made us worse. Villa started coming over towards us. We didn't look like we was retaining the ball in the midfield area at all. And it wasn't just a case of if Villa score, it was going to be a case of when, really. But we were sitting back for God knows how long. I thought Collins and Kilman were doing really, really well. But then every single time Villa seemed to lob the ball forward towards Max Kilman, they looked like getting in behind him at every opportunity. And I think out of the two, it looks as though Max Kilman is the problem. And don't get me wrong, I really, really rate Max Kilman. I think he's absolutely unbelievable, probably my favourite player. I feel like if you're going to replace any of the two centre-backs that we've got, I feel as though it would be him. Because I think with Collins, he's getting better and better as the game's gone on. I thought Man United, he was excellent. Today, he didn't put a foot wrong. Marks Ollie Watkins out of the game really, really well. But we just couldn't retain the ball in the midfield. That was the big problem. As soon as Dead Donkey came on, I really thought the worst, to be honest. Because, he's always going to create an opportunity. Mind you, he might not score, but soon as he, Coutinho even, they started to boss the midfield and it sort of invited a lot more pressure on towards ourselves, and Villa started to control the game a little bit more. I thought Cunha came on, did all right. You can see that he's got good touches. He's the first to press him down. He already looks as though he's probably should be starting, to be honest. And you can already see that there is a good player there. He just needs someone next to him. And I think that's just going to be the next step. He's trying to find the right player to play next to him. But overall, I think it's a good point. The only thing is, when you look at the games that we've got on the horizon, we've got West Ham, then we've got, it's either, I believe it's City, Liverpool, Southampton, then Bournemouth. Out of those 5 games, we've got 3 absolutely massive games. West Ham is probably going to be the biggest game in our season comfortably by, there's not even a debate for that. We desperately need 3 points in that game. And then you look at the Southampton and Bournemouth games as well. They're going to be absolutely massive and they're going to be the make or break games for our season. Today was a missed opportunity. If you look at the results as well, didn't necessarily go our way with Forest getting the 3 points. But I am really... The thing is, there's signs of improvement and there's signs that Lopetegui is really starting to get the best out of these players. But I think it's still okay to be concerned considering the league position that we're in at the moment. But there is definitely a lot more positives now than what there has been for God knows how many weeks beforehand. And I still think for Lopetegui, it's going to take a few months for him to get the right players in, to start playing the system that he wants. And I think once it all clicks with them, we should be okay. It's just going to be about when it clicks. It's not a case of if it clicks, it's just going to be a case of when. And we've got nothing to lose in the FA Cup. So let's just see what that does. And if we get through to next round, we get through. If we don't, we don't. But, thanks for having me on Talking Wolves, and I shall see you all in a bit, lads.
Villa 1, Wolves 1. Probably had taken a point before the game, but disappointing, really, after the first 45 minutes. Thought we were excellent first half, all over them, pressurised them all over the pitch. Midfield completely dominated, kept winning the ball high up, which was good to see. Little bit disappointing when we did win the ball high up that we kept going backwards far too often, which was a little bit disappointing, but can't really fault first half performance. Started really well and kept that really for the whole 45 minutes. Podence took his goal well, skipped inside the defender and rifled it in the back of the net, which is always good to see. And first half, can't fault any of them really. Really good performance. Costa kept making some good runs. We just never played him, which was probably the other disappointing thing in that first half. I think at one point he had to go at Lopetegui and a few digs at Coutinho for not playing the ball through to him when he was making those runs. But say going 1-0 up, a couple of goals would have obviously been nice, but can't complain at being 1-0 up. So yeah, first half very good. Second half completely different. Game really of two halves completely. Emery changed it a little bit. I think he took Ashley Young off at right back and put Matty Cash there. Brought Coutinho on, and I don't know if that's what made the difference or if it was the way we played. It was a bit like Lopetegui had told him to sort of drop deep and keep it tight for the first 5-10 minutes, and we just never got back out of that. Never really in control second half at all. Villa completely dominated the game, to be honest. Although we still had some chances. Adama came on at half time. Thought he did well when we did play him the ball down the channels. Their left back got nowhere near him. Mings had to come out to try and cover and didn't really do that particularly well. One time in particular, Adama cut in on his left foot and tried to get the shot off. I think the other disappointing thing second half, there was a couple of chances. Adama had the ball out wide, Kuna had the ball out wide at one point, and Aït-Nouri on the other side. There's no support in the box at all. Adama had one, he laid it off for Kuna and just didn't make the run into the box. Just kind of stood there watching him, expecting him to do something, but he's out wide with two players around him. He's not going to score from there. So yeah, disappointing second half. Kilman with a very good clearance, looked like almost off the line with a header. Sarr was beaten and a very good block, which I thought might have woke us up a little bit and got us back on the front foot, but it just didn't. We just kept setting deep. Their left back with really the freedom of that side of the pitch really. Semedo nowhere near him, Adama nowhere near him, and he just kept whipping the ball in. Defenders dealt with it well enough, but you can't just keep letting him whip the ball in like that. And then the Villa goal comes from a very straightforward Mings with all the time in the world, but the ball's gone from halfway inside their half right through to Danny Ings up front, who's run on the end of it. None of our defenders anywhere near him. Sarr unfortunately slips and he sticks it in the back of the net, but the ball can't travel that far and the striker just getting on goal. It's very poor, and happened again towards the end. Kilman was covering a bit better this time, but again striker went round Sarr and really should have tapped it into the back of the net, but put it wide, thankfully, for us to hold on to a point. So yeah, can't really complain about a point away from home, but after the first 45 minutes you really felt like it should have been 3. Massive game now against West Ham. We need that first half performance for a full 90 minutes in a couple of weeks time, but obviously Liverpool next in the Cup.
It was a disappointing result in the end, but ultimately it's probably a fair one. I don't think either team particularly played better than the other in the end, but I think it was definitely a much better performance from Wolves. I would say that first half is comfortably the best we played all season. I don't think many people could really argue with that. I thought overall the individual performances across the pitch were vastly improved. I've been so sick all season of like performances being let down by individual errors all over the pitch. I could name countless players, but like I'll be here all day. And I think generally we can be pretty happy with the way we played. If we keep up stuff like that, we shouldn't be in a relegation battle by the end of the season. Considering how close the league table is as well, I think there's something like 3 points between Leicester in 13th and us, something stupid like that. So if we keep playing well, keep putting in good performances, I don't see why we'll struggle. In terms of the goals, like what can you say about that Podence finish? Unbelievable goal. To wiggle around that man and then do that, unbelievable. But in their goal is so unavoidable. One ball over the top, and I don't know what Sarr was doing. I think he had a bit of a mare today, to be honest. He's playing incredibly erratically. I don't know whether he's been doing that since he started, and I've not noticed. It's only now that we're losing I'm noticing, but he just seems to make terrible decisions quite a lot, and sometimes he gets away with it and sometimes he just doesn't. And even though today wasn't necessarily a bad decision, he can't be slipping there. Come on. Best players, I thought Neves is back to his best. I think he's had a couple of off games recently, and I think that's kind of rubbed off on the rest of the team. But he was much better today. Thought Hwang was brilliant. He looks like a different player since he's come back from the World Cup. And Aït-Nouri is just in some incredible form at the moment. If he just slotted that away at the end, I think this would be a very different review. But yeah, that's all I have to say really. I just hope that we can string some more wins together in the next few weeks. I reckon sack off both the cups. I don't care if we're in a quarter-final. It's just not where we need to be focusing our energy right now. We need to stay up, and that needs to be our only priority. Let's hope we can get some more signings in January to make that possible. Cheers.